Hello, Gaston County. Welcome to episode number 75, a special edition of Gaston's Great, which is, of course, I hope you know by now, a podcast highlighting some of the great things happening in and around Gaston County. I'm your host, Stephen Long, and we're coming to you once again from the worldwide headquarters of GSM Services. As we look forward to having more great discussions in the coming weeks and months, we simply believe in discussing more of the reasons why Gaston's great. So why is this a special edition? Well, it's because we have the two individuals with us today who really make Gaston's great happen. We have Amy Anderson and Naomi Hunt with us today, who are both part of the marketing team here at GSM. We're going to talk about a number of different things related to the podcast in the coming new year, which also could be code for we had a guest reschedule at the last minute.
Pretty much.
Naomi and Amy, welcome to the podcast.
Well, thanks.
Thank you.
No more behind-the-scenes stuff and no more behind-the-camera stuff. You guys are now out in front. So Amy and Naomi think we have this script that we're going to follow today, but that's actually not true. I'm just going to make it up as we go. They think that we're going to answer some specific questions, but no, that's not what's going to happen. So I'm going to ask you, like we do every guest on our podcast, and start with you, Naomi. Tell us a little bit about yourself, anything that you would like to share.
Well, I work for GSM. Every time you hear a joke at the very end of episodes or have anything like that, and he says something about Naomi, 'tis me he is picking on. I, of course, besides work, I sing. I'm a part of a ministry. We travel to different churches and sing. I'm a part of my praise team. I've been with GSM for 3 years. Also married for 3 years. I have 3 dogs. Number 3, I guess I just really like it. So, but that's all I can think of.
Well, let's hope the GSM part doesn't stay at 3.
Right, exactly.
Okay, we're going to extend. We're going to extend that well beyond 3.
Beyond 3.
All right. Anything else you'd like to share? I mean, what church, or is that asking too much?
Oh,
is
no.
Is that too much information?
No, I go to Judah Church in Charlotte. It's the Still Creek area. And it's, I think, like 30 minutes from Gastonia, depending on where you're from. Yeah, I love my church. My pastor's crazy. And I'm proud to be a part.
Very good. All right, Amy, what would you like to share, ma'am?
Well, my name's Amy Anderson, and I'm the marketing director here at GSM Services. And I am single, so I don't have any husbands or kids. But I do have a dog.
You said husbands, by the way.
Husband. I don't have
plural.
a husband.
Okay.
And I do have a dog. His name's Wiley, and he's a boxer. So that is my child, actually. And
Where are you from originally? You from Gaston County originally?
I'm originally from Charlotte, but I moved here my 11th grade year.
Where did you go to high school?
East Gaston.
Oh, okay.
Which is great. And I live in Dallas, and I love marketing. I love to be outside. I like to do anything outside and travel.
Okay. That was amazing. Very
Right.
good. Yeah.
Thank you.
So we appreciate you sharing that. So in all seriousness, we these are the two ladies who make all this happen with Gaston's Great, and frankly, so many other things that go on here at GSM Services. So what we have a little plan, we did put some questions out to our listeners online, because we've heard from a lot of our guests. Some of the questions we'd like to ask is, why is Gaston County great? And we have some other questions that we specifically asked. So Amy and Naomi have I guess collected
Yes.
some of the responses besides just what we've heard from our guests over the previous 74 episodes. So maybe I'm going to throw it out to you. So what kind of responses did we get? Because going into the new year, we kind of decided we were going to spotlight, good things about Gaston County. What have we heard the last 74 episodes? Just kind of a general discussion about some of that stuff. So I'm going to throw it over to Naomi. What else did you hear? Why is Gaston County such a great place?
So we did a poll on Instagram, and so there were some answers. So a lot of them, the location is great. We've heard that on the show. We're, of course, right by 3 hours from the beach, 3 hours from the mountain. We've got Crowder. So the location is great. And someone else said the people. We've gotten that a lot. And then, of course, other people just kept saying location. And I think that's why it's great, too, is location. Even though I don't go outside, it's still cool.
You never go, so you never go outside.
I mean, when I have to. I don't. I mean, do you see how white I am? You can tell I don't go outside.
Actually, I know exactly what you mean with talking about that. Too much sun can be detrimental to us fair-skinned individuals.
Takes about 10 minutes and I'm done.
So would you elaborate on that yourself? Why you say Gaston County is such a great place, other than location?
I mean, I think Gaston County is great. We have a lot of stuff to offer. I feel like, it's not crazy like Charlotte. I can't stand Charlotte. Well, it tears my nerves up.
I hope we don't have any listeners that are from Charlotte. So,
It's not the people, though.
But Charlotte is the gateway to Gastonia.
It's too busy.
Okay.
It's crowded.
Too busy.
It's very busy. And
it's very hometown feel here.
Yes.
So tell us how you really feel about Charlotte?
I can't stand it. Well, and then around the
that was
holiday
a little
time.
unexpected, but
right.
Okay.
Well, if I don't have to go into Charlotte, I'm not going into it. I'm just not. It's too much, and I start freaking out going into Charlotte. And see, in Gastonia around Christmas time, it starts getting really busy like that. So I'm like, I'm just staying home during this season, and then afterwards I'll go. But I like it's very homey. We've got a lot of like mom and pop places to eat. Mm-hmm. And if you know anything, Stephen, I love me some food. Oh, I love food. So that's a big thing for me.
Yeah, there may be a running joke here about every time I walk by your desk, there is 7 or 8 cups and
beverages
and food at your desk.
Every time. Yes. Every time he sees me, I'm eating.
So, Amy, how would you answer that question? Why is Gaston County such a great place?
Yeah, I mean, I think people and location hits it perfectly. I do like to be outside. So we've got the lake, and then you got like Crowder's Mountain. You can hike it. And then, of course, like if you want to travel, you don't have to take off work. You can just go to the beach for the weekend and come home on Sunday, or you can go to the mountains an hour and a half away and come back. So we really have the best of everything in that situation. And then, like I said, the people here, if you go to Charlotte, I don't know, I feel like it's too big. But around here, people smile at you. I don't ever go anywhere and not know someone, even the grocery store. So, I like that.
And Amy goes to the beach every weekend, so she knows from experience.
Not in the winter.
Barely.
So.
All right. So thank you for sharing that. And so the other questions, if you're a first-time listener, there's a series of questions we ask directly related to Gaston County. So that's what we're going to stick to here for a few minutes. I know we got some answers from some of our listeners as well. So the next one, actually, we went backwards. We asked the big question first today, but the first question we typically ask is, what is to our guests is what's the favorite Tony's ice cream flavor? So what did we hear from our listeners out there, Naomi? And then you're going to have to answer that question too.
Okay.
Have you ever been to Tony's before yourself?
So I think I'd went like when I first moved to Gastonia. I don't remember it though at all. So I'm just going to say no, technically. Because I don't remember it.
If I could reach the board, I would.
Wah, wah, wah.
Yeah, I would give you some kind of. So what did our listeners say in general?
So cookie dough, banana pudding, black walnut. Are you laughing at the way I said pudding?
Possibly.
Okay, well, black walnut, chocolate, and then cherry vanilla.
And then somebody wrote, "I never actually been."
That was me.
Naomi.
That was me.
I'm just saying.
So have you, of all the episodes that you've been a part of, have you ever answered that question, Amy?
Me?
Yeah.
I like banana pudding.
We're going to move on to the next question. What were our big responses on favorite local restaurant?
Let's see. Pita Will, Texas Roadhouse, Tex-Mex, and then I don't know how to say this one. It's
Casa de
Julie, Taxco, and Tony's.
And lots of pita wills.
Yeah.
Pita will, pita will, pita will.
What's that one say? Taxa de Julia? Casa de Julia.
Casa de Julie.
Yeah.
So what would you say? How would you answer that one?
100% Pita Will. I go there on my lunch break, get me some chicken tenders and some chips and dip it in ranch. It's great.
Amy?
I like Mexican food, so I don't know. I guess I'm just gonna say pita well. Pita well.
Pita well.
Pita well is really good.
If you're listening, please sponsor us.
So, I mean, Pita Will has been a pretty.
They have
common
amazing
answer.
ranch.
Pita Will and Webb has probably been the two most popular
Yeah.
over the
for sure.
previous 74 episodes. All right, what about is there a distinguishing winner between Sundrop or Cheerwine?
It was Tier 1.
Was it?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
What about the two of y'all?
So, I used to be a big fan of Cherry Lemon Sundrop, but I don't know. After drinking so much of it, you know how you get tired of it. So that's kind of where I'm at. But I ain't drinking Cheerwine. I ain't doing it. So I'd rather have Cherry Lemon Sundrop.
Okay, well, I'm going to note here that 78% of people said Cheerwine. And
Wow.
hold on. I'm sorry. I'm blind. 70 said Cheerwine and 30 said Sundrop. But I was actually telling Steven this the other day. I don't typically like Coke and stuff like that, like the darker soda. So I always love, and I do love Sundrop. So I've always drank Sundrop. But when we started this podcast, I was like, God, a lot of people like Cheerwine, and I tried it, and now I'm obsessed, and that's all I drink. I really don't drink soda a lot, but when I do, I like Cheerwine.
So you're blaming the podcast
Yes,
now
like
and all the
I
guests
think
we
that
have
I would be
just for
5
asking that
pounds skinnier if it weren't for Gaston's great.
Okay,
That's
well.
okay.
That at least something that this podcast has accomplished in its almost 2 years of existence. Okay, what about what did we hear about our favorite outdoor activity in Gaston County? Our favorite park, or I'm not sure how we worded that.
Outdoor gatherings like barbecue or bonfires. Sorry, I'm thinking about something the other day. Fishing on Lake Wiley, the lake, eating.
Yes.
I don't go outside unless I have to. That's Naomi. The Shield, Poston Park, youth sports.
Okay.
Good variety.
So to the one who never goes outside,
Yep.
do you have an answer for that, or
You have to pick something.
you just only go out after dark, or
I actually just stay inside. I mean, I'd prefer to go outside in the cooler months. There's not as many bugs. The sun is usually not out too much. I don't know what else to say after that. I hate bugs. That's a lot of the reason I don't go outside. And then, of course,
too.
I'm so fair-skinned. Yes.
you're skinned.
I'm so fair-skinned. So
Fair-skinned.
it doesn't do good for me.
This episode is
Maybe we should just turn it off.
Amy.
Shut it down.
Amy, you're
I mean, I like being on the water, so and I
That's
love
what
to
I said.
fish. So I like to go fishing.
you love to fish.
Yeah.
What's the last fish that you caught?
A shark, a baby shark.
All right, just for the record, you didn't catch a baby shark in Gaston County, which we're
No,
asking
no.
about favorite activities in
I was
Gaston
at the
County.
beach. In Gaston County, I like to catfish.
Also,
This is
note.
Okay.
Some of the reason I don't care to go to the beach is because if I can't see my feet in the water, I do not get in it. I don't get in the water.
Okay.
Well,
So-
I can relate to that. but-
So,
It's too much.
so did we ask my question of
I did.
listeners?
I
to-
specifically put it on there for you.
so
What was that?
the UNC Duke
Oh.
or NC State question?
You're going to be a little upset.
No, let's have it.
Okay, so they're all tied. It's the same exact percentage
33%.
for every single one of them.
That's not upsetting.
You don't think so?
Knowing what I know about this area, yes.
Okay, well, also note, one of the voters for NC State was me, only because I didn't want to get fired. So,
So you would have really lost.
right. So does that, I don't know if that counts
Let's
or
quit
not.
talking.
We're also admitting as we're talking about this how little response we got from these questions.
Well, I wanted to do it too to see how fun it was. But there was a good bit of people.
No, there was.
Oh, okay.
See how your vote counts?
Right.
Oh, boy. Amy, what is something very few people know about you?
Oh, gosh. Probably that I like to fish.
You can't use the same answer
Oh, my
twice.
gosh. I really don't know. Like, I'm very, very open book, aren't I?
Yeah.
Like, I probably tell people too much. And you know that,
like
Stephen.
Like this episode.
Yeah, exactly.
Are you sure you want this to be
No,
the 75th episode?
Naomi, something that very few people know about you?
I think it's that I'm naturally an introvert.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty shocking when I fake it till I make it in front of people.
Especially,
I was shocked.
All the singing you do in front
Yes.
of big,
Yeah.
large crowds.
Yes. I'm naturally an introvert. Hugging, I don't want nobody to hug me,
So-
any of that.
What also, that's strange, the fact that you have a YouTube channel.
Yeah,
and
and we've been kind of slack on it.
What is the name of the YouTube channel?
It's called Nay and K.
You need to spell it, because
Okay.
when I tried to find it by just that, I couldn't find it.
It's Nay, the and sign, and then Kay. Yes, and that is a channel of me and my best friend. She also works here, but we've kind of been slack on it because life's just been a little bit crazy. But when I'm around people, I know I'm not an introvert. I'm very open, so I'm open with her and a few others. But
you have a TikTok too and all that.
Yeah.
Is that called Nay and K?
no, I think that's the Naomi Hunt. I think my Instagram is Naomi.
It's
Hunt.
funny. It's good. I would check it out.
Yeah.
So you don't do that with Kaylee. You just do that one on your own?
that one's on my
the
own.
TikTok.
Yeah, I just, I like making people laugh, but also online, so I don't have to be in person with them.
Yeah.
That's why I like
Okay.
online stuff. Like I want to make people feel joy and be happy, that kind of thing.
As
But I
long as
don't
you don't
want-
have to interact with them
in
personally.
person. Exactly, yes.
Like this 20 minutes that our listeners are not going to be able to get back
Exactly.
from this episode.
Is it 20
Welcome.
minutes already?
Welcome to GSM.
Right.
It's like 17 minutes. And
Oh, okay.
It's probably 15 minutes too long.
Yeah.
Dang.
So how about, I know this is going to be a tough one. How about a book besides the Bible?
I was going to say the Bible.
Can't-
Bible.
Can't use that. Is there a book either one of you read in the last 30 years that
Yes.
would maybe worth sharing?
Actually, GSM makes me read books all the time.
Yes,
So,
yeah.
yes.
That's good. And some of those, you know what, we might not have shared some of
No.
those. So
Yeah.
So give me something. Give our listeners something that might be worth their while to read, or a blog or an article or a YouTube channel besides.
Nay and K.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I listen to a lot of marketing stuff and read marketing stuff, but I also like inspirational type things. So a book that really stuck with me was How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Do you remember the author?
Really?
Dale Carnegie. Thank you.
Yeah, Dale Carnegie, because he wrote other books too. But yeah, I mean, it's just a good book about self-growth and
That is a good book.
yeah.
It's a class.
Even if you already have a lot of friends and you know how to make friends and you're an
it's
extrovert
It's
like
probably
me,
considered the grandfather of personal development books.
it is. It'll change your life.
So top that, Naomi.
I actually have one. I have one. So there's a few podcasts that I don't listen to podcasts all the time. I listen to Gaston's Great all the time though. But when I do listen to them, there's actually people at my church that have two podcasts. And so there's one, it's called Under the Fig Tree. And it's Troy Boozer and his friend. I just can't remember his friend. And just the way that they kind of open up scripture, explain things, it takes it out of the box, the normal translation almost kind of. So I like that. And then there's another one, his daughter actually does. It's called INO. And it means in, not of. And she talks about different things, and her name is Jasmine Boozer. So I like their podcast. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. I appreciate you sharing that.
Yeah.
I might have to.
Took me a second to think of them, but I got it.
I might have to check that out. So, the last question that we ask our guests, and I say it every week, this is my favorite question, and it's only been a couple of years for you, Naomi.
Yeah. A total of 6.
So, knowing what you know now, what advice would you give your 20-year-old self?
Who's going first?
You.
Naomi is going first.
No.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, because I do help record every podcast, and so I've heard a lot of people and what their responses are. And I've thought, man, I do need to do that. You know, like I really do need to calm down. It's not that serious.
Yes.
It don't go that deep. It's not that deep. So I guess just that, and like I get so stressed out about things that, you know, in 2 months I forget about. And so, you know, I've found a gray hair before, and it's probably because of that. And so I probably don't need to stress out as much.
Yeah.
But that's what I'd tell myself last year. So, I would just, you know, don't stress about things so much. And, yeah, because you're probably going to forget about it anyways. So.
It's a great answer.
Yeah.
Top that.
I would say that just similar. Don't worry so much. Don't stress so much about, you know, the situation you're in. Try to be positive and look at the good. And even with the bad, I've always, through my 34 years of existence, realized that when I look back on it years later, I understand why bad things happened, and it happened for a reason. So I feel like everything happens for a reason, and put your trust in God, and He'll see you through.
Amen.
Mm-hmm.
So that's
you didn't expect those from us, did you?
Well,
I mean, you shocked.
No, actually, no. I'm not shocked. I mean, this is the kind of stuff I hear every single day here at GSM
Right.
from so many different individuals. So where are we headed with? Before we close this one out, I mean, we're going to make this a short one on purpose. This isn't because of the topic.
Is it because of your guest?
No.
Yes.
Where is Gaston's Great? Where the podcast going? I mean, it's episode number 75. I think Amy and I have been involved from the beginning, and Naomi joined us
around the 60s.
Okay, so roughly 15 episodes ago, something. So where do you see this going? If you had told Amy and I think that year and a half or March of 21 that we were going to be recording episode 75, I'm not sure we would have believed that.
Yeah.
Would you have thought that?
No.
March on that first episode back, I think we had the United Way on was our very first episode. Yeah. So where do we see this going? Is it going to be the same format, or are we going to take a break now for a little while? I know we've got some more recording scheduled. So where do y'all, as the producers of this spectacular podcast, where do y'all see this going?
Well, I mean, eventually you're going to run out of, nonprofits. But there's always events that nonprofits have that are very interesting. I mean, that we could focus on, or, I would like to see it go to other things too, of just events in general in Gaston County, things going on, like Friday night lives and downtowns, and talking to the people behind the scenes with that, all kinds of stuff. There's so much going on around here. You know, that's great. You always have something to talk about that we could figure out. And Naomi's really good in the camera, obviously, and she's very technical. So, I've kind of put her more in charge of Gaston's Great. So I see her doing big things with maybe a better camera.
Fingers crossed.
like that camera over there?
Yeah.
We're testing it out.
No, it's not that one.
No, that's the little
We're hoping that it sounds good through that one. But
yeah, that's a little rinky dink right there.
Yeah.
He got us through, though. He got us through.
So far.
Right.
Yeah, Naomi's very creative, and so I think she'll come up with some cool stuff. But we are looking to change things a little bit. We're just trying to figure out how.
How would you add anything to that, or did she cover that?
Yeah, I think there are a lot of things going on in Gaston County, but I think it'd be really cool to branch out a little bit, maybe a bigger spectrum, because just like Amy said, after so many nonprofits, you kind of get, it's hard to, I've been experiencing, I'm having a hard time reaching out to people and scheduling them. I'm like, y'all come on now.
Yeah, so I mean, to your point, at the end of every episode, we do ask for listeners out there, give us some ideas for future guests, future shows. It doesn't necessarily have to be a nonprofit. We've kind of focused on that area for the organizations that we're familiar with, or maybe somebody here at our company is involved with. So that has kind of been the focus. So to this point, but there may be individuals out there doing great things in the community that we might not be aware of. Cool. And so we do have some suggestions, and I don't know, we are probably scheduled into late February, roughly.
Middle, I think.
So
middle of
we're recording this on on December 30th.
Yeah.
So right before the new year, and so this will be released maybe
Maybe.
and the first week of January. And it was kind of a good time to just take a kind of a step back and talk about where we've come, what we're doing. Get the credit to where the credit's due to Amy and Naomi for the work that they do. So that's kind of why we went this direction. But listen, we are looking for we're even open to suggestions from our listeners on how the format is and what topics we might you guys might want to hear and see. So we plan on, as long as people are downloading it, we're going to keep doing something. And
there's
so,
a good bit.
And this. We might have a slight blip in the number of downloads this particular week.
There's going to be a lot. There's going to be a lot.
So I'm going to shift gears because this is going to air if we decide to actually do it. And we're not too, not too skittish about this particular episode. It'll air the first week of 2023. So that new year, that year, the new year is always, whether it should be this way or not, it's kind of that time of, thinking about the past, where we've come, time of renewal, so to speak, kind of a reset. Are you guys like New Year's resolutions people? Do y'all do that type of stuff? Or
nope.
Amy?
I do not.
No, I don't really. I do more reflecting and try to be better the next year.
Yeah, it's interesting to hear because most people say yes to that question. And then,
is that what you were expecting?
Well, I didn't know because this is not something we know. A lot of this stuff we didn't talk about beforehand. That's one reason I wanted to give you some surprise questions.
Well, this is my reasoning behind it, because I used to be. I'll say that. I used to be the person that would write down like 20 different things that I wanted to change about myself. But then I realized I was also the person that didn't have the energy to keep that motivation going, so I just would stop it. So to me, I'm just like, okay,
yeah,
sis.
Well, the historically, I mean, there's enough research information.
Right.
I mean, I'm old enough that I used to do that as well, and resolutions just they don't stick.
Right.
They just don't stick.
Yeah.
I mean, there is a super small percentage of people where it does stick. It's kind of like when you see the the big joke is you go to the YMCA or any type of gym or fitness facility in the first few weeks of January, and then go back in the first week of February.
Right.
And see the difference. So it just really doesn't work. But I think it can be a time of renewal and reflection. I like that word a lot on where you're doing and what kind of things we are getting ourselves into. I mean, maybe goal setting might be a better way to look at it on some situations. I do. I mean, if anybody that's listened to any very many episodes at all know I'm involved with a group called F3, and that's something that we do kind of at the end of the year. It's a little exercise called the 8 block, where we look at different facets of our life and what we we accomplished in 2022 or previous year, and related to that, what we want to accomplish in the coming year, things that we might want to do. So, for me, that's a little better way than saying some resolution that I'm not going to keep.
Some crazy thing.
Yeah, I'm not going to keep
I think
anyway.
adding a goal to it though definitely.
Like, I'm not eating
makes you more
salads all
motivated.
year.
Yeah.
I'm not doing it. I'm sorry. I'm sticking to chicken tenders. That's it. I need to be healthier, but am I? No.
But you're still 20s.
Well, I'm 26, but I need to be healthy.
Healthier, maybe.
Healthier.
That's another problem with resolutions and goals is they need to be pretty specific in order for them to work.
Right.
So
Attainable.
I'm going to finish up here something in a minute, a story that I found, but is there any final last words of wisdom for our listeners, whether it's the new year, whether it's where Gaston's Great's going, where it's why Gaston County's a great place, why just anything you'd like to share or pontificate about? I've always wanted to use that word in a sentence.
What?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think
Maybe.
I don't know what that means.
I'm pretty sure I used that in the proper context, but I'm not actually
But
sure.
yeah, I can follow your context. I would just say that please keep coming in and listening. Please share your suggestions. We can't, we love other ideas, thoughts, even if it's new questions, people, any ideas, we really appreciate it. And you would send that to podcast@gastonsgreat.com. Or, you can even call GSM Services and ask for Amy Anderson or Naomi Hunt, and we would love to talk to you.
Absolutely. That's one thing. We don't have a Gaston's Great phone number specifically, do we?
Yeah,
No, but you can call 704-864-0344.
That is
Amy,
correct.
that was the wrong number. I'm just kidding.
Yeah. So, what do you think, Naomi?
I guess last thought, I don't know. You know, joy is different than happiness, so strive for joy. That's
Amen.
it.
Yeah, that's a good one actually, because I think the example I've heard or used and have shared it before is, happiness is fleeting, right? It's
Temporary.
It's the hot chocolate in front of the fireplace. Then the hot chocolate is gone and the fire is out.
Yeah.
The joy is more longer term.
Mm-hmm.
It's more of
Sustaining.
Yeah, that's a good
You
way
can
to
have
put it.
a bad time.
I think one thing to really depict that GSM actually made us read this year was the energy bus, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was about joy and attaining that versus happiness.
Yeah, that's a good.
Very inspirational.
One of John Gordon's book. I'm a big fan of John Gordon. In fact, you go back to 74 episodes, you'll hear his name more than once on my personal book recommendation.
Yeah.
The Energy Bus is a good one about company culture and view of the world and what are you really trying to accomplish and attain, whether it's joy versus happiness versus and how that relates to family in your work.
Is there
And life.
And is there any roastings that you would like to do at the end of this podcast, or like you normally do?
Any roastings?
Roastings.
No, I think we've.
Roasted enough.
I think we've done enough.
Enough roastings. Okay, great.
I think we've done enough to damage the integrity of the Gaston's Great podcast
They're gonna love us
now. And so something I do each episode is some kind of quote or a book recommendation or whatever. But today, what I'm going to do, I'm going to do something different. We're kind of searching for a story of some type, kind of what I'm going to call a thought for the new year. And I'm sure many of you have heard this story described before. It's called Rocks, Pebbles, and Sand. And so here's how the story goes. A philosophy professor once stood up before his class with a large empty mayonnaise jar. He filled the jar to the top with large rocks and asked his students if the jar was full. His students all agreed the jar was full. He then added small pebbles to the jar and gave the jar a bit of a shake so the pebbles could disperse themselves among the larger rocks. Then he asked again, "Is the jar full now?" The students all agreed that the jar was still full. The professor then poured sand into the jar to fill up all the remaining empty space. The students then agreed that the jar was full. In this story, the jar represents your life, and the rocks, pebbles, and sand are the things that fill up your life. The rocks represent the most important projects and things you have going on, such as spending time with your family and maintaining proper health. This means that if the pebbles and the sand were lost, the jar would still be full and your life would still have meaning. The pebbles represent the things in your life that matter, but that you could live without. The pebbles are certainly things that give your life meaning, such as your job, house, hobbies, and friendships, but they are not critical for you to have a meaningful life. These things often come and go and are not permanent or essential to your overall well-being. Finally, the sand represents the remaining filler things in your life, in material possessions. This could be small things such as watching television, browsing through your favorite social media site, or running errands. These things don't mean much to your life as a whole and are likely only done to waste time or get small tasks accomplished. The moral of the story is, the metaphor here is that if you start with putting sand into the jar, you will not have room for rocks or pebbles. This holds true with the things you let into your life. If you spend all of your time on the small and insignificant things, you will run out of room for the things that are actually important. In order to have a more effective and efficient life, pay attention to the rocks, because they are critical to your long-term well-being. I'd also encourage you, there's actually a couple places on YouTube that you can go and you can actually see this done in front of a classroom. But that story has always struck me and as a good reminder of, can we really, to Amy's point about the word reflection, this is maybe the time of year to really look back and look ahead. What are the rocks in your life that you really need to stay focused on, so the sand and the pebbles don't fill up too much of your time and you might miss spending time or miss focused on the things that are really important. So we normally, kind of go out with this announcement and things I do every week, but I just want to thank Amy and Naomi for their time today. They are such a big part of the podcast, especially, but they do so much good work here at GSM Services as well. And as Amy mentioned, please contact us at our at the email podcast at gastonsgreat.com, or you can call us here at GSM and ask for Amy or Naomi for any suggestions for future podcast guests. So we appreciate you guys hanging out with us for 75 episodes now. We are well over 10,000 downloads between the audio downloads and the YouTube downloads. So we're very grateful that the listeners out there are sticking with us, and we are looking forward to continuing on to, and maybe next time we'll do something like this might be at episode 100. I'm sure that we're going to get there, and maybe the format might be different, but I appreciate this, and we hope here at Gaston Great that everybody has a very happy and prosperous 2023.